and a warm welcome to everybody. It's nice to see that we have so many businesses out there, and I'm really looking forward to today's session. So before we start today's session, I'd, over the last week, I've been reading through your profiles, and I went through the diagnostics, and there were so many interesting things going on with your business, and it's so exciting. And I think Imbe would have, spoke to you about how we're going to approach the program this year, because we ran the program for 6 years. This is actually our 6th year that we're running the program, and one of the things that we noticed about the businesses this year have so much more potential as opposed to the businesses in the last 5 years that we ran the program. And what we've decided is that we're going to take a different approach in terms of how we deliver each module going forward, because I think when we get you to engage and speak about your business in terms of your strategy, or whether it's your marketing, or whether it's legal or compliance, we tend to understand the business a little bit more and provide much more guidance. So this session today is more about you interacting with me, with us as a team. Because when I looked at the business profiles and I said, it's so exciting because it's so diverse. There's so many different industries involved. There's so many different services that are involved. But more importantly is that the businesses are quite established businesses. And that's exciting for me because there's so much potential for growth. And I'm sure you're going to agree with me when I say that, Bimbe.
Absolutely. Just listening to the colleagues that introduced themselves a few minutes ago, the businesses are doing great work.
Yes. So I'm going to start off by asking you a quick question. It's sort of a quiz just to get to know you, get to understand you a little bit in terms of your business. I want you to engage today. I want you to have peer-to-peer conversations. I want you to share as much as possible. I know strategy, sometimes can be intimidating. When I was, I've been doing strategy for a long time now, and there's so many different tools, and there's so many different approaches, methodologies, and principles. And as a business owner myself, sometimes it's quite intimidating and it's quite difficult to actually keep up. But one of the most important things that I've found is that, there's a direct correlation between strategy and leadership. And you've got to have strong leadership capabilities in order for you to be able to, one, formulate a strategy, and secondly, to be able to execute on that strategy. So I'm very quickly going to throw out a question there. I want you to have fun with it. I want you to think about it. It's 1 minute. And if you get it right, the prize is that you get a free 1-hour mentoring session, okay? So I want you very quickly, 1 minute, to tell me the innovations in South Africa. What are some of the innovations in South Africa? So take 1 minute, and very quickly, the first person to come up with the top 5 innovations that was created in South Africa.
So we'll be checking the chat box, colleagues. You can just write in the chat box. Jay, my submission is, my innovation submission is the please call me.
Please call me.
I wonder what that payment is. It seems it's been signed under confidence. We'll never know how much that guy is getting.
Probably $1 billion. They've been on this case for 20 years, right?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
I was responding to Mbe that he's probably going to get something over $1 billion because this case has been going on for 20 years.
Okay, I think our 1 minute is up. I'd like to hear from you. I'd like to hear what do you think the 5 top innovations that came out of South Africa? Okay, so let's start with Arthur.
Yo, top 5 innovations. I'm not sure. I'm drawing a bit of a blank today.
Okay.
You know, yeah.
All right. No problem. Desmond?
Does Elon Musk count? He's an innovation out of South Africa. He's an innovation himself.
Is Desmond, are you with us?
Yeah, I think what comes to mind is, what Mark Shuttleworth did in the past, including the Ubuntu operating system, and the technology that he put together around certificates back in the days. So for me, that's the innovation that stands out, and it went global. That's what I would mention.
Okay. Laretto. Can I hear from you? Ishana?
Hi, Jay. Yes,
Hi.
it was Chris Barnard. He did that. He was the first in the world to do the heart transplant. So that's quite
Yes,
an
well done. Well done. Okay, anybody else? Okay,
I don't think you see my hand. Sorry. I'm thinking it's not a tech business, but it's a business called Book Iboni. I think it's based here in Vilakazi Street in Orlando West.
Yes.
So basically for tourists, it's not a new thing or a tech thing or a wow thing, but from a tourist perspective, cycling in the township while sightseeing, taking them through, your the Mandela House, down Vilakazi Street, and other key points, around that neighborhood. I think that's quite smart.
Okay. All right. I see. Thank you for that. Okay, somebody else got their hand up there.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me go.
Okay, go for it.
There's one that is
Sorry,
called
I think there's
dry bar.
two.
Can I go?
Muse,
in?
maybe
Mushle,
you go first and then Kizo. Yeah.
All right, sharp, thanks. There's one that is called dry bath. I'm not sure if they're still in the markets, but I think that was really innovative early in their times, where you can literally have a bath without using water, like for travel instances and stuff like that. I think there was a greatest innovation that came from us.
Yes, I know the founder very well, so I have engaged with him. So yeah, well done on that. Yes.
Oh, that's great.
Kizo, go for it. And then over to Jay.
Yeah, so I think this is a bit of an older one, but so instant messaging is kind of a weird one because I think we innovated that because we came up with Mixit, right? Mixit started off here, and now that's what's turned into like an app, which is WhatsApp, and eventually came down the line, which is something that we use on an everyday basis and pretty much for the most part to run our businesses. So WhatsApp, I think, is kind of a stem of something that comes from Mixit.
Okay, thank you. I'm actually learning more today about the innovations in South Africa. Thank you for that. There's one in the medical field, Dr. Charlotte. Is Dr. Charlotte with us? In touch. No, Wimbe?
Yeah, so she is muted, but Doc actually, they focus on biomass as a business. So I'm sure they can tell us more when she comes back. Maybe she's just stepped away, but they are more focused on biomass. Hi, Doc. Oh, you have an audio issue. Okay, no problem. Over to you, Jay.
All right. Thank you so much for that. It was very great hearing all the innovations that you've mentioned. But there are some that are really, that really stands out, like the creepy crawly for an example. If you look at the extraction of oil from coal, if you look at the what you call the speed gun, that's to measure the speed of the ball when you're actually playing cricket. The doluses, when you're walking on the beach, you'll find this huge concrete T-shaped things. That's an invention from South Africa. I mentioned the creepy crawly as well as the CAT scan machine. So these are all innovations, and they really, if you look at the blue ocean strategy, you can actually say these come out of there. These are markets that were uncontested markets. It was great innovations. It had a huge impact. It had a global impact. In fact, the thin solar panels also came out of South Africa. So there's a lot of innovations that's happening. And the reason why I asked you this year is because I want you to understand how important it is to know, and this is what strategy is about. Strategy is about, pulling all the information that you have, understanding the internal environment, understanding the external environment, and being able to know exactly what is going on. So it's important. And when I mentioned earlier that there's a direct correlation between you look at leadership and you look at strategy, and yes, strategy is there. How many of you, honestly, when I asked that question, took some time, thought about it, and then Googled it? Just put your hands up. You went and Googled it. So it wasn't top of mind, but you just went and Googled it. None of you. Great. Good stuff. Okay.
Sorry, guys,
So
can you hear me now?
yes, I can hear you. Can
Okay,
everybody
go for
else?
it, Doc.
Sorry, something's wrong with my laptop, so I'm just doing it on my phone. I definitely Googled it. I come from AI, so I was going to check what's trending.
So I just want to quickly ask you, did you know about the spring-back syringe?
No, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm in
Okay.
in AI and robotics, not medical. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so as I was saying, so when you look at it, is that there's so many different approaches, so many different tools, and I worked with so many different businesses. And most recently, just engaging with the businesses, having conversations with them. And one of the things I found is that, it's that the leadership mindset that we need to have in order to understand, yes, there is strategic tools. You look at Pistol, you look at TOES, you look at the lean business canvas model, you look at hands-off matrix, you look at the balanced scorecard, you look at Porter's 5 forces. And where does all these tools fit in, and how do we actually use these tools in our business so that we can formulate real strategies going forward and be able to achieve the vision that we've set out, right? We're going to talk about the vision and why the vision is so important, because when I was having these conversations, is that it's like a norm for every business to come up, with a business plan and have a really great vision, and you got your mission statements, and you set your values. But what does that mean for you as a leader? What does that mean for you as an organization? So how often do you go back and revisit that vision and that mission and that values? How often do you actually communicate that? And how often do you actually implement tools to monitor and evaluate where you are in terms of achieving that vision? Because the vision is absolutely important, because if you understand it, believe it, see it, can dream it, because it's futuristic, it's 5 years, it's out there. So how important is that for you as a leader? Now, my second question is to you. My question is to you is this here. Normally, when I start these sessions, I ask the question, how important is strategy to your business? Today, I'm going to ask you something completely different. How is how important is strategy to you as the founder, as the CEO, as the CIO, as the shareholder in this business? Okay, I want you to think about it and engage me. Tell me how important the strategy, and I want to understand where you are with your strategy before we get into, all the tools and, talking about the markets, talking about the implementation, talking about the execution, talking about the monitoring, talking about the assessment and evaluation, setting objectives, and how we go about achieving that. So I want you to tell me, how important is the strategy to you as the founder, as the owner of the business?
Would be great to hear from Kizo on this. I know he's done quite a bit of work and a lot of thinking regarding strategy. There have been some massive shifts in his business. Kizo, if you can maybe jump in.
How's it going?
Also,
Hi, Jay. Yeah,
Hi.
sure. Strategy to me personally, well, in my role, is actually the most important thing, Jay, to be fair. Yeah, so I run a tech business, a software development company, agency, whatever you want to call it, and I know zero software. So to be fair, strategy is pretty much my entire job. So direction of company and things like that, how we've shifted over the years, we've started off with just kind of providing a service. We started off initially with just your standard website and platform and things like that. And we moved on to more complex stuff like mobile apps and financial trading platforms and so on and so forth. And we've now shifted as well, once again, to creating SaaS products that we're taking to market after seeing gaps in the market for being in that kind of market for a couple of years. And then we quickly realized that the digital skills gap in our country is actually so massive that every time we try and expand, we end up on the back foot because talent is not exactly very easy to come by. So now we've shifted on from strategy of just only providing software as a service, creating software to software as a service, to creating an academy that's going to give us that pipeline so we can actually expand sustainably as well. So strategy that we've done over the last couple of years has been really integral to everything that we've done.
Absolutely. Great. Thank you for that. And tell me, when you formulated this strategy, because now you said, I mean, you didn't understand anything about software, you got into this space, you put together a strategy. What are some of the strategic tools that you used to grow, to expand into the market?
To be fair, not really very many tools. It was really old-fashioned network to come into the actual market itself. Using business tools such as white labeling to get into bigger rooms is something that we did utilize quite a bit. And actual go-to-market strategies, we engaged with people that were in market, and we did a lot of market research in terms of where we want to go and what we want to position ourselves as, and kind of targeting those areas and moving forward. Yeah, that's what we've done.
Okay, thank you for that. Anybody else?
Brian's hand is raised. Brian, go for it.
Brian?
Thank you, Jay. I'm Brian from Naidoo Technologies. Our business is pretty much like Uber, except we also have a component of fintech. Now, because of two factors. Number one, in South Africa and Africa in particular, it's very difficult to find funders, almost non-existent. And then two, the market space is highly competitive. So to us, strategy means the quickest way to move from where we are to where we need to be quicker and cheaper. Now, to do that, it means strategy is our way out. Strategy is our way of actualizing our idea. Strategy is the way we are going to show up in the market. And so where we are in terms of market, strategy, we are thinking about creating uncontested market spaces because we don't have the budget to go fight the big boys. And when we started, we were following the model of category design, go into uncontested market spaces, create a new category, position yourselves as the leading authority, and move with or without money. So that's where we are trying to think of where do we start from. Our application is ready. It's ready for rollout now. We've spent a lot of time tweaking here and there, and the market keeps changing every day. So where we are is, how do we move from where we are to where we need to be the quickest, faster, and cheaper? That's where things are. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian, for that. That was truly insightful, and I like what you said. You spoke about uncontested markets, and that's so important because, when you look at that, you look at like the Uber, for an example, or Airbnb. Those were all uncontested markets, and they applied, sort of a blue ocean strategy and went in there. Sometimes it can be really a costly exercise when you're looking at the uncontested markets. But also, you spoke about, the competitiveness in that market. And one of the tools you'll use is sort of Porter's 5 forces. And the reason why I'm sharing this all with you and why I want you to engage is because I've taken a few businesses and had a look at it. And I looked at, where you are and that diagnostics tool report that was done. And I'm sure all of you have got that diagnostic report. When you read that, you'd be able to see exactly, in terms of what strategy you need to employ. So what I've done is that I put it into a PowerPoint presentation, and I said, okay, these are the businesses. This is where you are currently. This is exactly what you do. And I said, okay, this is the strategic approach. And I like what you're saying, because when I looked at it, specific strategic tools that actually came out of it. And, one of the things I used to teach when I used to do the SWOT analysis, and everybody did the SWOT analysis, every business that you speak to, they've done the SWOT analysis. Now, you've even seen in your diagnostics report that there was a SWOT analysis that was completed, which is great, because when I looked at it, I could understand what your strengths, what's your weakness, what's your opportunities, what your threats are. But when I looked at it further and I said, listen, apart from just having the SWOT analysis, you'll need to use the TOES analysis, and the TOES analysis is opposite of the SWOT analysis. So it's taking your strengths and turning them into opportunities, taking your weaknesses and turning them into strengths. Now, when you use that and you set clear objectives, and you can measure that against, let's say, a SMART methodology, you'd be able to execute on that strategy. So what I'm trying to do here is just to understand your approach, your thinking, because remember, I said something earlier, is that leadership is indirect, it correlates with, strategy. So you got to have that leadership mindset. You got to be able to understand, what are the strategic tools? When do I use these strategic tools? At what point in my business that I can use it? Some of the tools you'll use over and over again, maybe on a quarterly basis, to reevaluate and check where you are. I've also looked at the businesses and some of the strategic tools that you would require is, for an example, if you're looking at, going into different markets or product innovation or product development or product, it's the ANSOF matrix. So how do you use that? So I brought that in and I plugged it into the businesses that would actually require that. And we'll go through that presentation a little bit later. But I'd like to hear a little bit more from the other individuals. How did you approach strategy? How important strategy is to you in your business? Because this is important. And remember that this is when you engage, we learn. Everybody learns. We have conversations. We be able to identify our challenges, our competencies in terms of our leadership. Because what I want to do here is I want to shift the mindset. I want you to think of strategy completely different. I want you to think of it not just as a document that I have, but the importance of formulating the strategy. The secondly is that implementing it, evaluating it on a constant basis, making sure that you're using the right tools in order to formulate that strategy, because there's a lot of strategic tools, all right? I've also looked at, some of the businesses required the lean business canvas model, for an example. And I think, I'm not sure which business it is, but we'll go through it a little bit later. Okay, so let me hear from somebody else. Dr. Charlotte.
Hi. So I think from our company perspective, I mean, we've been around for a pretty long time, and we focus on digital transformation. So with us, we try to keep our strategy as minimalistic as possible. We don't take on too many strategic outcomes. So we take on about 3, and then literally we take those that specific outcomes and we break them down into detailed deliverables over a period of time, and we make sure. So what we try and do is work backwards. So say, for example, if we want to achieve a specific target by the end of 2027, then we work backwards to see how we're going to achieve that on a yearly basis, on a monthly basis, and then right down to a daily basis, so that if everyone's working on that specific aspect of it on a daily basis over that period, we will get to that. You know, they say you can, instead of looking at the top of the mountain, look at the next stone in front of you so that you can climb that mountain. So that has been our focus, and everybody is very clear and defined deliverables, and we all work towards achieving specific outcomes to reach that strategic goals. So that's what we generally do.
Okay, no, thank you for that. So you set, I mean, you know the strategy of your business, you know where you're going, you've set these sort of high-level objectives, you've sort of broke them down into the tasks, and you monitor and you evaluate constantly in terms of whether you're meeting those objectives and it's in line with your strategy, if I understand you.
That's correct. That's
Okay.
correct.
Is
At
there any
times,
specific, sorry,
no,
sorry?
you can carry on.
Is there any specific tools that you use to sort of monitor and evaluate?
Look, with us, we again very practical. We don't use automated tools because I think from a team perspective, we literally use Excel. We literally build project plans. We literally have progress meetings on a weekly basis, and we work towards that. Very, very practical, so that everybody's on board, from the CEO right down to the administrative staff that's working on the project. We did try to use various advanced tools, but I think it got a bit complicated for the team, so we reverted back to just using Excel and becoming more practical and getting people delivering on a weekly basis so we can track and monitor performance on that.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Is there anybody else that would like to go? Mbe, I need you to help me out here. Mbe?